Account-based marketing is the most effective system to land targeted high-ticket B2B clients in 2025 and probably years to come. For some background, I run a B2B go-to-market agency with my friends, and we've helped over 300 other businesses with their client acquisition systems, which has us sitting at $350,000 MRR as it stands. I formed my thesis on go-to-market and account-based marketing, also known as ABM, from countless trials and tribulations. I've seen many offers in many different industries and firsthand observed what's worked and what hasn't. And that's led me to developing this system that I've implemented for other 9 and 10-figure businesses that has reshaped how they're handling their marketing and sales operations. I covered this system on this viral LinkedIn post, which has booked dozens of meetings for us and actually opened up a deal with an 11-figure company. By the end of this video, you'll understand what ABM is, why it exists, how you can do it the modern way, the tech you'll need for it, and why I think ABM is just go-to-market done correctly in the modern age. ABM was a marketing strategy that arose for companies that had a small total addressable market, but a big ticket size. Meaning, sending thousands of emails and blasting ads was just a waste of money if it was to the wrong companies. And for the small amount of companies that these ABM strategies were looking to target, they needed to make an impact and they couldn't waste a touch point. Meaning companies with an ABM strategy needed to dedicate all their resources to landing deals with their dream clients. This meant every channel had to be activated and personalized for these target accounts. They ran targeted ads, one-to-one personalized emails, cold calls, event invites, even gift giving. But as tech advanced and with the advent of AI, 2 things happened. 1, doing a high amount of marketing activities became easier than ever to manage, and also creating competitive solutions have become easier to create. And so with more and more companies coming to market and having an easier time to conduct a high amount of marketing activities, it's become substantially harder to stand out in most channels. Emails, DMs, calls, and even more so, the quality isn't necessarily getting better with the higher amount of volume. So people started to ignore the channels that previously worked, which is why content and brand are still, of course, king. So that's the first thing that changed with the advent of AI and technology, but here's the second. Traditional data platforms to run ABM started to become outdated because now with tools like clay.com, you can check hundreds of data points on any company, deploy custom research agents, and find even more data on your target companies, meaning you can better segment your lists, get better coverage on mapping out your total addressable market, also known as your TAM, and most importantly, you can effectively score and prioritize your accounts, which to this date, most companies still don't do. So what does this all mean for ABM in 2025? So for companies with a high ticket size and low total addressable market, ABM is still the best strategy, but we just got better tools and AI to conduct it. But here's my hot take. In 2025, ABM is just go-to-market done correctly, even if you have a giant total addressable market. But if you do have a big TAM, you're just playing a different game. Let's take 2 examples here. Company 1 has an average LTV of $100,000 per customer, but they only have a total addressable market of 2,000 companies. Company 1 is going to be doing way more for each account they're targeting, but they're still going to score and prioritize those accounts to come up with 100 dream accounts. And for those, they're pretty much going to do anything to land them as clients. They'll send them luxury dinner invites. They'll pretty much do unlimited ad spend for them. For those dream 100 clients, Company 1 will pretty much do anything. But let's say Company 2 has an average LTV of $2,000 per customer, but has a total addressable market of 100,000 companies. Presuming Company 2 has some sort of higher ticket offer despite that low LTV, there's probably a small segment of that total addressable market that can benefit from the higher ticket offer more than the others. And so they're still going to map out their total addressable market and score and segment that list. And so the top 2,000 tier 1 companies are going to receive that same ABM treatment that very low TAM, high ticket size company is going to do. And it's just that the, let's say, 28,000 tier 2 companies from that total addressable market are going to receive a mix of both automated marketing efforts and one-to-one personalized manual activity. For example, automated emails, but one-to-one manual calling steps within that sequence. And for the remaining 70,000 tier 3 companies, which are by no means bad fit companies, the main top of funnel strategy is going to be pretty much mostly automated and scalable, but of course, when they return a signal that they're interested, that's where sales comes in and takes over. If this is confusing, let's jump into this workflow right here to explain from the very start. So ABM done correctly starts at your CRM. This is because you need to look at your closed lost deals to look for disqualifying signals, and you need to look at your closed won and highest spend customers to look for qualifying signals. This will help you create a high-level firmographic model for your ICP, but also to find the highest spend customers and look for lookalike companies of those. You can find simple firmographic matches using software like Apollo, Zoom In for Cognism. And to find lookalike companies, you can use software like DiscoLike, PandaMatch, and Ocean.io. But to create an accurate ICP model, you need to factor in many more signals, and that can be in another video. And once you have that ICP model, it's essential to backtest that model against your closed one to constantly develop it over time. That's where you can do your full broad total addressable market map. And what's key with the broad total addressable market map is that sales and marketing use the same list. I see in so many companies that marketing and sales don't do this, where marketing is trying to maximize the amount of MQLs and sales simply hates the leads that marketing is bringing them. So with that broad total addressable market map, we bring that into clay.com to do two different things. One is account enrichments, and two is the account scoring piece. So here you are looking for extra data points on each of these companies so you can score those companies based on things like headcount, industry, location, technographics, company structure, or other signals. Key being you send those enrichments and scores back to your CRM so you have one single source of truth. And so we're left with three buckets of companies: tier 1 companies, tier 2 companies, and tier 3 companies. And as mentioned before, tier 1 companies is where you're trying to do everything to land those as clients. You might be doing event invites and asking for warm intros. You might be creating personalized videos and landing pages for them. You might be running ABM ads, or you might be doing one-to-one outreach with email, LinkedIn, or cold calling. And for those remaining tier 2 and tier 3 companies, you have more of an automated acquisition strategy where you might be doing automated personalized outreach with software like Instantly, Lemlist, or HeyReach, or you're running top of the funnel LinkedIn ads or capturing intent from Google. The key is once you have that enriched and scored target account list, you are going to find relevant contacts at those companies to make sure you are reaching out to and aware of any stakeholders that you should be talking to. You might use software like clay.com, Apollo.io, or ICPs where you're going to score the people based on their job title, department, seniority, or any other signals that are relevant to you. So again, you are left with three buckets of personas: tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3, where tier 1 tend to be the final decision makers based on if the company is going to buy your product or service. Tier 2 is going to be the middle managers typically of the end users, and tier 3 are the end users who typically don't have that much of an impact on the decision-making process, but are relevant to loop in on your deals. Now, this is where things get interesting because the buzzword of 2024 was intent signals, where it isn't smart to necessarily reach out to every single target company at any random point in time. You instead want to understand when they are most likely going to be in market for your solution, and those signals might come from two different places. So you have the bucket of first-party signals, and this is when people are already aware of your solution. And so it's all these signals you can track of how engaged they are in your whole product or service ecosystem. And then you have second-party and third-party signals, and there is a small distinction between them. And so these are signals that you don't necessarily own, but they are indicators that a company is looking to solve the problem that you solve, but they might not be solution aware yet, and so they haven't given any type of first-party signal. So there are first-party signals that you're going to want to track because these tell you how close a potential prospect is to a deal or a buy. And ideally, once you collect these signals, you send them back to your CRM so you have one source of truth, but you also send them to a notification channel so sales reps can act upon them proactively. For us, we actually like to create a personalized Slack channel for each sales rep where they can get signals on their target accounts so they can act on those as they come up. So for first-party signals, you might want to track ad insights with software like Vector.co, Fibbler, or Influ2. Then you might want to track events that are logged already in your CRM, and this might be form fills or webinar signups, but that might be in your HubSpot, Salesforce, or Pipedrive, but you're going to, again, want to send those signals to your reps so they actually act upon them and they don't just sit in a silo in your CRM. You're also going to want to track outreach replies, and that might be from your Instantly, Lemlist, or HeyReach activities. You also want to track product usage signals, and that might be with your Mixpanel, Amplitude, or Ramp. You also want to track LinkedIn signals, and that might be with Common Room, Clay, Teamfluence, or Trigify. And lastly, you might want to de-anonymize your website visitors, and you can do this with software like Vector.co, Midbound, B2B, or Warmly. But when you have this many signals, it may get hard to act upon them correctly and in the right order, and that's where the engagement score comes in, where you assign a score to each of these events. Maybe you're assigning a certain amount of points to a webinar sign up, or an ad insight, or a form fill. And these points add up to create your overall engagement score, where the higher the score is, the more close they are to making a decision on a deal. And so how we do it is 0 to 40 is what we call aware, 41 to 70 is what we call interested, and then 71 to 100 is evaluating. They're very close to a buy. So when it comes to the second and third party signal world, you might want to track affinity signals with your integration partners using PartnerStack, Crossbeam, or Reveal. You might want to track review site data using G2, Capterra, or Cold IQ coming soon. And lastly, you might want to track previous champions leaving and switching to new companies using software like LoanScale, UserGems, or Champify. So that's second-party signals, but then in terms of third-party signals, there's quite a few you can track. And so for your target companies, you might want to track funding announcements using Crunchbase, Owler, or PitchBook. You might want to track their job openings using Clay, Predict Leads, or People Data Labs. You might want to track technographic changes using HG Insights, Built With, or Wapalizer. You might want to track people changes like directors leaving or joining, and you can do this with software like Clay, UserGems, or LoanScale. You might want to track company news or initiatives, so you could do this with Clay. You could scrape Google with Serper, or you might even want to track their 10K reports. And lastly, you might want to track their social engagement, and you can do this with Common Room, Phantom Buster, or Trigify. For example, if they comment on your competitor's post, that's a pretty interesting signal you may want to track. And so just like the engagement score, we typically create an algorithm for the intent score, where again, it goes from low, medium, and high, where low is 0 to 40, medium is 41 to 70, and then high is 71 to 100. And so each of these signals typically has a cadence at which you track them. Some of them you might want to track them instantaneously. Others, like news initiatives, you might want to track weekly or monthly. But the idea is you push all these back to your CRM and you take the important pieces of info, and again, you notify reps so they can actually act upon these signals. Popular CRMs you might want to think about again are Salesforce, HubSpot, Pipedrive, and then newer ones like Adio or Close. And then to bring this all together, you're actually going to want to create a combined priority score where you're taking the company score, factoring in the person score at that company, you're taking the engagement score, those first party signals, and you're taking the second and third party signals that makes up the intent score. And you're going to collate all those scores into one final priority score. And that makes the life of your sales reps much easier, because they can look at their target accounts, look at the respective priority scores, and make sure they're always staying on top of the highest priority accounts, and they can work their way down that list. So this was just a high-level overview of how you might want to be thinking about GTM and ABM in the modern age. But if you do want to see the exact rundown of how I build the automations and systems to run this, then subscribe to the channel and like and comment below so I know that you want to see it. But if you want to hear from me in a more bite-sized format, then follow me on LinkedIn using the link below, and make sure to send me a DM if you're interested in installing a system like this into your B2B business. Thanks for watching. See you.